Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder live stream. I'm Rylan Stiles. That's Derek Parker. I'm the host of Locked On Thunder. You can find me and Derek Parker both over at the OKC Dream Team. Find us both over at thunderonsi.com as well. Derek, how you doing today with a couple off days here in this season?
I'm doing good. Is it an off day though? Are we doing this? Are we going to the board
for us? It's not an off day for us. We grind no matter what. We're going to be at the Paycom Center for 3 straight days as we go see the Blue take on the old Memphis Hustle.
Yeah, Gigi Jackson and those guys.
Yeah, Gigi Jackson could be in town. It's a good question. I don't know if he's been assigned there, but you know who is there is Jemai Meshack, my GOAT. So I cannot wait to watch Jemai Meshack play some defense for the Memphis Hustle. But Derek, we're here to talk about the Thunder's 12-1 start. This has been, honestly, shocking to come away from this back-to-back unscathed, to sit here at 12-1, despite playing the most games in the NBA while being shorthanded, despite not seeing J-Dub debut yet, and yet here they are. Has the thought of this team possibly being the best team of all time crossed your mind yet?
Well, I don't want to get ahead of the skis here, but on Monday's show, I predicted a 3-0 record. And what was my storyline prediction? I said I didn't think it was warranted, but I think we're going to be talking about this team in some new light. If they're 12-1, and if they win these, especially these upcoming 4 games, which we'll get into, and they're sitting at 15, 16-1, then I think we're going to be putting them in the same breath with some pretty dang good teams. And we don't have to mention those specifically here, but yeah, I mean, teams jump out to 12-1. This is not new territory necessarily. Of course, this is great. This is elite territory, but this is not like a new frontier. I think it's the fashion in which they've done it. This back-to-back, especially against Golden State, still had a few of its former dynastic pieces. Los Angeles has one of the best players on planet Earth in Luka Doncic. They'd had a pretty good season so far. The way that they dismantled both of these teams, it makes you wonder. I'll say that. I'm not going to give you a straight answer right now, but it was a absolute lambasting of these two basketball teams.
Yeah, Derek Dodger, they call you whenever you just dodge the question. I think that it's fair if the thought has crossed your mind when I'm watching this, because they just continue to be this uncommon group. And that's been the tagline that Mark has talked about a lot. And, some of the Markisms are fun and you kind of get lost in them a little bit, but that one really sticks out as just being so true, that this team, despite whoever's in or out, just take this back to back, forget the rest of the season. You're playing 2 teams who people believed are contenders in the West. And you don't have Jalen Williams, who's an all-NBA player and an all-defensive player, and your number 2 scoring option. You don't have Lou Dort, who's an all-defensive guard who is primarily tasked with defending the likes of Steph and Luka. And you don't have your best bench scorer. And yet, you blow both of them out. And it's just a game that only plays 3 quarters. That's unbelievable what this team can do to the opposition. It's unbelievable that this team continues to find ways to win under these circumstances, but it's also predictable that this team continues to improve, because we spent all summer long, Derek, talking about how despite not winning the headlines of the summer the way Orlando did, the way Atlanta did, the way Denver did, the Thunder were still going to be an internally improved team as these guys got older, as these guys continued to progress throughout their career. And so far, we've seen just that happen. But what's been that most impressive thing for you during this stretch?
Yes, I will get into my takeaway. I also just want to touch on what you just said. Obviously, they've got these guys waiting in the wings. It's not like the Lakers where, yeah, they have LeBron, and it's almost like it's not an issue to get one of the greatest basketball players of all time back, but it almost is in the sense of they're going to have to fold in LeBron to a team that had been clicking. There's questions about LeBron's defensive impact and the try there. It's the total opposite for the Thunder, where you're getting back Jalen Williams, who not only scores 20 points per game, doing it both on ball and off ball, also an all defense player, as you touched on. You got Lou Dort, who, but there are some offensive concerns. There's lulls and there's peaks and valleys with him, but he's also one of the better defenders in the league, all defense player. And then you've got Aaron Wiggins, who's a proven scorer. So It's unbelievable. There's no words for it. My first takeaway from this back-to-back is that Cason Wallace has taken another step as a defender, which would have been hard to say a year ago, considering how good he already was. People talk about it all the time. Shea talked about it in the postgame last night. He came into the league as a good defender. He was drafted where he was at number 12 for defense. He was that good of a defensive prospect, especially off ball, also hounding at the point of attack. Now we're seeing, as we've talked about on this show, the returns of him diving into matchup nuances, really taking film more seriously, getting even more opportunity on guys like Steph Curry, Luka Doncic. So he's been unbelievable. It is a frightening thought for the opposition that Cason Wallace has taken this step to like a legitimate all defensive player, considering that, again, Lou Dort, Alex Caruso, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, not to mention the star-studded 7-footer in the paint. So just a scary, inexplicable defensive basketball team.
Yeah, and that ties in perfectly with my number one takeaway. I was just mesmerized by watching them defend Luka Doncic in particular, and a lot of that was about Cason Wallace and his ability to navigate through screens and his ability to stay in front of Luka Doncic. And really, when you break down what happened for Luka, he only had 7 free throws. And like, yes, the 7 free throws that he generated largely on ticky-tack calls. But how do you get those ticky-tack calls? Well, one, you have to be a superstar, which every superstar gets. So there's no point in complaining about Luka's whistle. It's a fair whistle for the level of player that he's at. But how do you deter them from happening? You don't let him get into the paint. The Thunder did not let him touch the paint in this game. That's wildly impressive. They kept him as a passer on the perimeter, and they had great backline defense to ensure that those rolls to the rim did not harm them overly. And he only had 7 assists in this game. And his cleanest shot of the night, Derek, was a shot from the Paycom Center logo, a catch-and-shoot 3 with a contest from Alex Caruso. That was his cleanest shot of the game, and you were down 2 all-defensive players. Like, it was alarmingly good to see them defend Luka that way.
Yeah, obviously we were at the game. We watched the entirety of it. I also went back and watched all of Luka's shots again. I just want to say that I'm not trying to incite anything, but the way that he was trying to draw contact is not the same as the way Shea does get contact. Shea does draw it. There's almost never a point where Shea is not trying to make the shot. There's so many times last night Luka was only looking for contact. Like, the shot was so obviously like kind of out of his wheelhouse. And that's not super typical for him. Like, he's obviously averaged 37 points per game. I think he was just a little bit flustered by the Thunder defense, honestly. So a heck of a job by OKC. Luka's a phenomenal player. He is deserving of a lot of whistles. Didn't happen last night. I thought the Thunder played about as perfect defense on a guy like that you can. And he still got stats.
Point, yeah, to that point, like, he was trying to shot fake Cason every time, and Cason stood down onto the floor, and he didn't get in the air. And so not getting into the air early, plus his navigation of screens, like, led him to being an excellent Luka defender, as best you can do against Luka. And it wasn't just Cason, it was also Caruso, but it wasn't just those 2 point of attack defenders. Like, their ability to have all of their bigs, literally all of them. They played Brandon Carlson in the first half. All of their bigs were hedging off of screens perfectly and showing and recovering to Luka and getting back to their assignment in the paint. From Chet to iHeart, who I thought iHeart made the biggest strides in this game. You do not expect iHeart to be chasing Luka around the perimeter off of screens like he did, to let Cason get through those screens and then get back to his man, and blitzing Luka off screens to force the ball out of his hands. iHeart was athletic in this game. He was awesome. Chet, you expect that from him. Chet had a couple isolation defenses of Luka, and then Brandon Carlson and Jay Will did their jobs as well under that same scheme. I thought that Mark did a great job too of switching up how often they blitzed Luka off screens versus whenever they let Cason and Caruso isolate versus letting Chet isolate on Luka. Just continuing to change up the coverages forced Luka to just kind of be in this no man's land where he didn't really know if he should drive, if he should try to settle for threes, and he ends up settling, he ends up not getting in the paint, and he ends up not getting a ton of fouls. And because largely the Thunder were very disciplined in not falling for those shot fakes that so often you see defenders fall for, and then leap into Luka, and Luka gets 2 free shots at the charity stripe. So they were great against Luka, and that was my biggest takeaway.
Yeah, Just last thing on Luka. We've seen him in the Dort matchups. There's like some bubbling up of frustration with Dort. You could feel that exact same thing with Cason Wallace. It came to a head with the technical foul, but just the job that the Thunder did pestering him all night was phenomenal. My second takeaway, and I think I've said something to this effect before, but the Thunder don't need to be healthy to be this good. We just touched on it. They went and got these back-to-back wins without Dort, without J-Dub, without Aaron Wiggins. They don't even need them to be like an S-tier team in the NBA. Now, are they at their best? Obviously not, because all of those guys are great. And I think when the Thunder are at their best, they're going to be fully healthy. But they don't need them to still be one of the top teams in the NBA, as we've seen. And this goes down the list. They've seen games without Chet Holmgren. They've seen games without Alex Caruso. They've seen games without Cason Wallace. I'm not unconvinced that they could win games without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Like, AJ Mitchell could probably step in and be a really good guard. Now, are they going to be number one in the West without the MVP? Probably not. But still, all this to say, they're just such a good basketball team. They're so deep. There's no reason to rush anyone back from anything. That's not the Thunder's MO anyway. But if it needed to be said, don't, because they can continue right now at the 70-plus win pace that they're at without these guys. So just, again, you run out of words to talk about how good this Thunder team is.
Obviously, if you just put anyone with Shai's going to drag you to being such a great team. And so I do think that as long as Shai's there, they're going to make it work. And to your point, it goes back to last year where they were a 68-win team last year, the best record in franchise history, the best record in the NBA, the best point differential in NBA history. And they only were healthy 8.5% of the season. And most of that came, of course, in the playoffs. So they were able to work through tons of injuries last year as well. They are just a special unit of truly executing the next man up. They need Shai to be the constant in that, but the peripheral players around him allow this team to continue to not miss a beat in the win column whenever other guys are out, and that's really about how uncommon they are. So that was my number 2 takeaway. We've already talked about that. It's just so an embarrassment of riches. It's so impressive to watch as this team can shapeshift their way into a high-level offensive unit, high-level defensive unit, despite the constant carousel of missed games from all these guys that you've seen so far. So the uncommonness and their ability to win without being healthy, those are our number 2 takeaways. What's your number 3 takeaway?
Yep, my last one. I'm not sure how seriously we can take the Warriors and Lakers after these games. Like, obviously, they can go be a middling West team. They can go win a whole bunch of games. But in the postseason, like, do they stand a legitimate chance? It feels like the Thunder somewhat dismantled both of their cases before our eyes in the last 2 days. Now, that's not to say they can't go get better. They can't go add pieces. They can't play with a lot more fire and have a lot better night than they did on Tuesday and Wednesday, but they seem really far off from this Thunder team. And that is the standard right now with them being the champs, with them having the best record in the NBA. They're setting the standard of who is going to beat OKC in the postseason. And I didn't see much from either team that made me think that's going to be possible this year.
Yeah, I'm out on the Warriors being a threat on OKC. I just think that you look at that game and they were only missing Al Horford, and Al Horford would have done a much better job than Quentin Post. Like that would have helped their case. Perhaps they don't get blown out as badly and as often and as early as they did on Tuesday had they had Al Horford. However, you look at that team by and large, they just have absolutely no answer for SGA, and that's without having to worry about J-Dub in that game, and they still couldn't have enough bodies on Shai to slow him down. I just do not take the Warriors seriously as a team who could push the Thunder in a playoff series. However, with the Lakers, I think that the Lakers series would be similarly to that baseball style series you saw in March last year, and then this game that you saw last night, where there's going to be some games where Luka's playmaking and his passing does set up open threes, and the Lakers are just red hot from three, and they're going to win that game whenever they're red hot from three. There's going to be some games where it's a down to the wire finish, and some team's going to win in the clutch. And then there's going to be games like last night where nothing is working for the Lakers. They're turning the ball over. They're missing shots. Luka's uncomfortable, and the Thunder run away with it. In the end of a 7-game series, it lends itself to the best team winning. The Thunder clearly the best team. So I think that the Thunder would still win that series against the Lakers fairly easily, but the Lakers, I think, have a better chance to push the Thunder to 6-7 games than the Warriors do. I think the Warriors are really dead in the water against this Thunder team. They're just visibly old. They visibly do not have guys who can defend. And even Al Horford, while he would have made their offense better than Quentin Post, How much is he improving that defense in the paint compared to Quentin Post on Tuesday? Not very much against this young Thunder team who can put him in a lot of actions away from the basket. I just do not believe in the Warriors at all to get this to a 6-7 game series. I do think that the Lakers hypothetically could. I don't think that either one of them, though, could beat OKC in a playoff series. So I'm kind of with you on discarding them in terms of OKC.
I agree that the Lakers probably are the more fearsome of the two. Even then, like, we saw a lot of issues spurred directly from this Thunder team in terms of them having the defensive options to really give Austin Reeves and a few more down the roster problems. They also don't defend very well at all. They have multiple guys in that starting five. And again, when LeBron gets back, like, yeah, he can tune things up for the postseason, but Austin Reeves, Luka Doncic, and LeBron James in your starting five defending this Thunder team just doesn't, to me, lend itself to a lot of wins. But I do agree they're certainly scarier just given the Luka Doncic effect. Like, he is that good as a passer, playmaker, a scorer when he's got it going. So I agree.
My last takeaway is just Chet Holmgren. Like, he's an absolute force right now. A career high in points and rebounds for him, 18 points per game, 8.2 rebounds per game, to go along with 1.8 assists and 2.1 stocks per game. A career high 59% from the floor, 37% from three, and 88% at the free throw line. He's shooting 81% at the rim, a career best in the mid-range, 65% in that category. And his non-corner threes are at 38%. He's an inside-out scorer who's keeping himself available for Shea at the rim for dump-off passes, and he's cutting more than he ever has in his career and producing 1.4 points per possession on those cuts. He's also producing 1.476 points per possessions off the pick and roll as a roller. That's the 89th percentile in the NBA, according to Synergy. Chet has made himself such a complete offensive weapon for this Thunder team that I think that his offensive leap is real, and the stuff that we talked about this summer with him improving on that end is coming true.
Yeah, he was especially unreal against the Warriors, obviously. Didn't even miss a shot. Against the Lakers, too, it was his first time playing in a back-to-back in some time. And he still looked like he had his legs. He got things going from beyond the arc. He had a couple mid-range shots on the interior. So looks really, really good. To your point, looks nearly unstoppable. There's just so few players in the league that are equipped to handle a guy like Chet Holmgren. There's probably 5 to 6 in the league. And I don't think the Warriors and I don't think the Lakers had one.
And then I wanted to ask this question. When's their next loss coming, Derek? Because let's just go through the month of November. Charlotte, New Orleans, Sacramento again, which I am so sick and tired of watching Sacramento. They're terrible. Utah, Portland, Minnesota, Phoenix, and the NBA Cup holiday hoops, feast week hoops for those two games. And then Phoenix, Portland ends it in November. Do they lose again in the month of November?
I think they do. To your point, it's not easy to pick which one because it is not a good remaining November, especially these next 4. I feel pretty locked in. My Charlotte Hornets could surprise. They got a win last night. Go Hornets. But you wouldn't pick any of those. Portland twice is interesting. Portland is obviously the team that beat them. You wouldn't expect it to happen 2 more times, but 1 out of the next 2, certainly not out of the question. Minnesota's interesting, maybe going to have a chip on their shoulder because of the Western Conference Finals. So I would expect at least 1 more loss in November.
It's going to be interesting to see how that fares. I will say, I do agree that they'll lose again in November. I do agree it's hard to pick the game. Playing Sacramento 3 times in a month, like, they've already beat Sacramento twice. It's hard to continue to beat up on these same teams over and over again. Portland's the same way, 3 times in this month. And you're going to see them once at home, once on the road. So that'll be tricky as well. And then Minnesota's the best team of them all in the NBA Cup environment. Phoenix has been a scrappy team this season as well. So they might lose a game in November. That's the crazy part, is that it's just hard to nail down if they really will or not. They're 12-1 right now, off to a great start. I want to take a question from the chat real quick. Arch asks, would you give up Oos for Keon Ellis? I want to take this question because it's something that I've talked about with Matt George, host of Locked On Kings, as the Kings are entering this fire sale that they're about to endure leading into the trade deadline. And he's been asking for trades from other hosts and just kind of working through some things for some content. And Keon Ellis is my guy on that Kings roster, who they're not playing him for whatever reason. And I think he's a really, really, really talented player, talented defender. And technically speaking, an Oos trade for Keon Ellis does work financially. However, you have to use an exception to make it work, and that hard caps OKC. I don't think that it's worth hard capping OKC to bring in Keon Ellis as like a more redundant player. However, I do believe Keon Ellis is, of course, better than Ousmane Dieng, and is, of course, going to be a nice addition to whoever picks him up almost for free, because the Kings have no leverage as they're not playing him right now. It's just the simple financial situation of like, I don't think it's worth hard capping this team to go get Keon Ellis, who's not really going to tip the scales in one direction or the other. Like, you look at this roster come playoff time, how are you going to find minutes for everybody? And if you add in a guy to Us's spot who's already going to generate 0 minutes in the playoffs, like, what's that going to do for the rotation? Probably not much, and especially for the trade-off of hard capping yourself.
Fully agree. I mean, in theory, swapping the two is a no-brainer, because I think Keon Ellis could play some postseason minutes, like spot minutes at least, whereas Ousmane Dieng probably will not. But yeah, I agree. Not worth the hard cap. Not worth the deal in general right now. Like, keep things as is. Keep trucking along. Although Keon Ellis, 20 points last night.
Yeah, Keon Ellis, nice little player. I love Keon Ellis. I had a first round grade on him in his draft. I would do that in the sense of the upgrade. I would love to see Keon Ellis play in this system for Oklahoma City. The only reason that I'm hesitant to say that they would do this was just because of the hard cap. If it wasn't going to hard cap them and they didn't have to use an exception to do it, I think that it would be a great pickup for OKC. I just don't think that it's worth the hard cap for OKC to do that for a guy who, again, is not truly going to tip the scales for this team. But we'll see how Sacramento handles the deadline, how the Thunder handle the deadline as well. I do believe Us will be traded. I just think it'll be traded for something that doesn't hard cap them for a future second-round pick down the road. And, it's kind of a nothing burger to see if Us can catch on somewhere else. He's given them some quality minutes this week whenever they're shorthanded, but nothing to change your opinion long-term of Ousmane Dieng. So coming up, Derek, I want to talk draft picks, because the Thunder are once again sitting on a bevy of them, and they could end up in a very juicy spot, all coming up. We're back on the Lockdown Thunder podcast, on the Lockdown Podcast Network, your teams every day. Here talking with Derek Parker as we do our Monday and Thursday 2 p.m. Central live streams every week, plus our Monday through Friday shows and our post-game shows, including bonus shows on the weekend like Saturday against the Hornets. And then here in about an hour, 3:30, we're going to have our first edition of the Lockdown Thunder Squad Show with former Thunder player Jeremy Lamb. That'll be every Tuesday and Thursday at 3:30 Central Standard Time. So make sure that you tune in for that after this live stream. But Derek, I wanted to talk picks. You're the draft guy. You have an excellent YouTube channel covering the NBA draft, Derek-Parker over here on YouTube. And here's where the Thunder picks sit right now. The Clippers pick swap. Currently, the Clippers would give the Thunder the 7th pick. If the lottery went according to plan, it'd be the 7th pick for OKC. The Utah Jazz owe the Thunder a top 8 protected pick. Right now, that pick is at 9. Thank you, Derek Favors, for that pick, if it were to convey. And then the 76ers owe the Thunder a top 4 protected pick, which is down at 21 right now. And the Thunder would give away their pick to Washington at pick 30 as part of that pick swap that they have tangled into that Clipper stuff. So with all that being said, presently right now, let's work for this first and foremost. Presently right now, the Thunder would have pick 7, 9, and 21. Give me the top 3 guys on your list that you're eyeing for the Thunder after this opening week of college basketball, if the Thunder still somehow do get a top 10 pick or 2.
Yeah, I've tried to go a little more realistic. I know that the Clippers is sitting at 7 right now. Like it's pretty unbelievable. Yeah. They've lost 6 straight, but I don't want to just
projecting the picks in a second.
Yeah, I don't want to just go and say, oh, Darren Peterson would be great for this team because the Clippers are really bad. So I've tried to be a little bit realistic. I will start with probably the least because he's getting a ton of buzz right now. And that's Neoclis Avdalis of Virginia Tech. He is a 6'9" guard. I had a first-round grade on him last year. He played in the NBA Draft Combine last year, played really well. So I thought it was really interesting that he didn't actually enter the 2025 draft. He played for, I believe it's Peristeri in Greece. Pretty solid pro team. He was okay. Shot somewhere in the range of 50, 40, 90. He is a 6'9" playmaking wing. I'm not going to comp him to anyone, but if you go watch the tape, you will reach a conclusion very quickly. He's been awesome for Virginia Tech so far this year, somewhere in the range of like 18 points. He's had 22 assists to just 3 turnovers. He's an absolute playmaking monster, really smooth, crafty handler. He's awesome. He would fit this Thunder team spectacularly in terms of being a playmaking wing. I think he will end up a top 10 pick. There's a chance that if he keeps this up through conference play, which will be tough, I will say, and he also has things working against him in terms of he didn't come out last year, and that means that he maybe got some potentially negative feedback from teams, but he's really, really good. He could potentially work himself into the top 5 if he was keeping things moving for Virginia Tech. Thomas Ho of Florida is a player that I think is just so good. That's showing through with Florida this year. He was obviously on the national championship team last year. He was a major part of that. 6'9" forward. He just does absolutely everything. Similar to, I was really high on Con Knipple in the same way. Like, just does not make mistakes, can do absolutely everything. One of the best high feel, high decision making, just plus impact guys in this class. And I don't know if NBA teams are going to take it seriously, but he is so good. He's decently athletic. He can hit threes. One of the best cutters in this class. He can defend his butt off. Just such a solid glue player that is now averaging upwards of 20 points for the Gators, stepping into that role that like a Keegan Murray did in his last year in college. So he's been awesome. Last one, Hannes Steinbach of Washington. He is a 6'11" big, a lot of feel, a lot of interior scoring. He's got some really nice passing. I think if the Thunder did want to continue to load up on the front court, obviously we've seen their guards are absolutely just elite in every sense of the word. Like we know they have this huge guard rotation. AJ Mitchell now completes that. Eventually you would like to see Nikola Topic. Obviously, hopefully he recovers. He folds into the rotation as well. Their guards seem set. So if they want to keep shooting for front court, even after the Thomas Sorber pick, Hannes Steinbach could definitely be a guy, certainly more offensive minded. I think that works next to Chet Holmgren. So these are 3 that I'm looking at right now: Steinbach, Avdalas, and Ho.
Make sure that you're checking out, of course, Derek Parker on YouTube for more draft coverage and watching out for the Hokies, the Huskies, and the Gators. Let's predict the picks, though. Like, obviously, it's fun right now to load up on Tankathon, and as a matter of fact, it's so fun that we'll do a live one sim. Everyone knows the rules.
Wow.
NBA draft simulator on Tankathon.
Can I draft it?
Yeah, you can draft it. Let's do that. Let's draft it. Number 1 pick goes to, oh no. The number 1 pick. I'm sorry, Jake Madison of Locked On Pelicans. It goes to the Atlanta Hawks.
Oh
my gosh.
They take Darren Peterson, they trade Trey, and they move into a new era.
Wow. The number 2 pick. I swear this is one sim. The number 2 pick goes to the Oklahoma City Thunder from the LA Clippers.
You're goofing.
I swear.
Okay. Huge AJ DiBonsa guy, scoring wing, 6'9", elite athleticism, not just vertically, but he is like one of the fastest A to B 6'9" wings you will ever see. I think he's going to be a 20 points per game guy in the NBA perennially. Did the Thunder need that? Would they take that? Of course. I lean Cam Boozer for the Thunder.
Okay.
Imagine Chet Holmgren at the 5. He's a stretch 5. Cam Boozer, 6'9", solid as an ox, strength-based creator, one of the best rebounders in the class, really good passer, Hartenstein-esque, especially in the open floor. I just think he'd be such a fun front court fit next to Chet. He can also shoot the ball from 3. So while I think AJ DiBonsa could be better long-term for a worse team, Boozer would so seamlessly just like slip into this Thunder team, immediately give you winning impact for the next decade. Cam Boozer, lock it in.
Number 3, Memphis Grizzlies from Orlando.
DiBonsa, easy decision.
And then that takes the top 3 off the board, and the Dallas Mavericks are at 4.
Wow. Michael Brown, Louisville. He's been awesome so far this year. The Mavericks are going to need guard help after they inevitably trade Kyrie, which we'll get into later. I'll go Michael Brown. Give me one more. We'll do top 5.
This would be a disastrous scenario for my Washington Wizards, who once again, after being 1-11, plummet to number 5 in the lottery.
Wow. This is tough because first, they're your Wizards. What are you thinking here? What do you want for the team? Do you want offense, defense?
I want offense.
Offense? Nate Ament's a solid option. Koa Pete's a solid option. We'll go Nate Ament. He's been solid. He hasn't got the separation that you would like to see so far from him, but at 6'10", he is an awesome jump shooter. He's going to be an awesome off-ball player. He's also been really good at foul drawing, which is a skill. Thunder fans should know better than anyone. So yeah, we'll go Nate Ament to the Wizards. They'll round out their core.
So that's what we're going to draft as a top 5. I just want to note, under this one-time simulation, the Grizzlies got 2 top 10 picks at 3 and 9. The Thunder got 2 top 10 picks at 2 and 10 from Utah. What would be the ideal walkaway haul from OKC at picks 2 and 10?
If you go Boozer at 2, or even DeBonta at 2, who's also a forward, do you lean guard again? Do you go true center? Jaden Quaintance, I think eventually when he gets back from injury, he will boost his stock higher than 10, but he would be an absurd add defensively to this team, especially as a guy who could anchor the interior for Chet if Chet wants to continue to play the 4. Chris Senac, same thing. Avdalis, we just talked about him. I'd go him at 10. 6'9" wing. He can shoot it. He can pass it. He can dribble. He can handle everything.
I want to ask you this, as someone who's already studied this draft class, and you're as familiar as you can be with how deep this class is and the perception of this class. Could the Thunder trade pick 10 outright and continue to reload their treasure trove of draft picks for the future after coming away with stealing the number 2 pick in the draft from the Clippers, and by the way, still having that mid first round pick from the Sixers? Could they trade 10 for something worthy long term, or is this draft so good that you just would rather have pick 10 in this draft?
You certainly can. Like, if you're looking at it from a contractual standpoint of like, you already get Boozer in this scenario. Now you want to kick it down the road just to kind of keep folding guys in. Like, eventually these players that we're watching now are going to phase out contractually, financially, fiscally, things like that. So I could understand it. I will say rebuilding teams kick picks down the road for drafts like this. Like, the 2026 draft is the one you want all your picks in. And there's a chance that the Thunder did that too, because previously they had as many as 4 firsts in this draft. They do their research. I guarantee you they knew which prospects would be in this draft. So there's a chance they're just like, 26 is it. We want as many in 26 as possible, and we'll figure it out later. So it could go either way.
It could go either way. Now let's predict where the picks are actually going to end up. This was all fun and well, but let's start with the Clippers. We both have them at 12. For me, it's just, yeah, Bradley Beal's out for the season. That sucks for them. But man, I look around this West, and there's so many teams who now all of a sudden like Dallas has to tank. They have to. They're already 3 and 9, so they're doing a good job of it already. But like, they have to stay down there. It's the last pick that they own until like 2031. So like, they have to keep their pick. The Kings are already having a fire sale. The Grizzlies are a mess. I expect the Jazz, spoiler alert, to not be a play-in team. The Warriors are going to still be there. And then the Suns and Blazers, it's like, do you believe that the Clippers, even with this issue, can leapfrog just one of the Jazz, Suns, Blazers to get back to the play-in tournament? I do believe that. I don't know if they'd survive the tournament. I would put them in the play-in tournament. They lose it, and then they get the 12th pick, just similarly to how they did with J-Dub.
Yeah, I agree. There's just something about number 12 and the Thunder that's been linked over the last handful of years. I, along with almost everybody else, expect the Clippers to get better. Like, are they going to be what we thought? Are they going to be the 4 seed? Are they going to contend in this West? No, I don't think so. I think that ship has sailed pretty quickly away from us. But I do think they're going to get better. As you touched on, other teams are going to position themselves much more toward the draft. The Clippers are never going to do that. It's not going to happen. So barring something happening to James Harden, who I think is one of the best floor raisers in the league, I think they're going to be fine. And with the Thunder having had 12 several times, it just felt like the right number.
Now, the Jazz, we both said that the Jazz would keep their pick, so they'd fall somewhere below 8 as it's a top 8 protected pick. They're going to start to lose eventually throughout the season, despite their strong start, 4 and 7, as strong as it can be. But you put in our notes, you said it stays with Utah, but what's the but there for you, Derek?
I think, firstly, the Jazz aren't like the team that everyone thinks they will be right now. I think for that to happen, they will need to offload Markkanen, which is certainly possible. They've talked about it a ton over the last few years. It's never happened. They're like so locked in on like winning these trades and just absolutely fleecing everyone. there's a good chance Markkanen is a Utah Jazz for the entirety of this season. That alone would not boost their draft odds. Secondly, the flattening of the draft odds really leans in Oklahoma City's favor here. Like if they do mess around and they start out their year 20-24 or something, and they continue to play really competitive games, and then, yeah, they've got the 6th best draft odds, but their highest percentage chance is landing 8, but then it ends up even worse than that, and they land 9. It's not out of the realm of possibility that the Thunder could get this pick. The Utah Jazz, for all intents and purposes, they're going to position themselves for the draft. One of the players, as you've touched on before, has Utah ties in multiple ways. I think DeBonce is probably their goal, but it is possible. I don't want to leave it completely off the table.
Yeah, and that's a strong but, because we're now on a big run of like Atlanta jumps up for Reece Shea, the Mavericks jump up for Cooper Flagg. You know, you've seen the Pelicans jump up for Zion, and you've seen all these leaps happening since the flattening of the lottery odds. And each leap, there's a faller that comes with it. So if the Jazz do not completely bottom out, which right now it's really early, and it's early. It's funny that, you know, both sides of the aisle talk about it being early on either extreme of like top of the standings or bottom of the standings. It's early. However, the Washington Wizards are 1-11. The Pacers and the Nets are 1-10. It's like the Jazz are not doing themselves any favors here, already having 4 wins. Like, when are the Washington Wizards going to get their 4th win of the year? And it's like, if the Jazz can keep winning here, it's like now you've put yourself at the luck of the draw of just, well, even if you get to the 8th or 7th best lottery odds, it only takes a couple of risers, which we've seen a couple of risers every year in the draft lottery. It only takes a couple of risers to push you out of where that protection lays because of the Derek Favors trade. It's unbelievable. So that's a good but. The 76ers presently right now, they again are tied with the Knicks and with the Timberwolves, and they land in the 21 range. But once the ties are all settled and everything, I have the Sixers landing at 19. You have the Sixers landing at 17. I think that's fair. I think that's going to be somewhere in this range.
Yeah, I'm sure we're thinking along the same lines. Don't know if they can keep up what they did at the very, very beginning of the year, but they are still a decent team that we expect to do something in the East in terms of the postseason. So, yeah, I think that either 17, 19, that's a fine draw for the Sixers, and that's a fine draw for the Thunder, obviously, getting that pick.
And then lastly, we both have the Thunder owing their pick to Washington. I think the Thunder will have the 30th pick. I think they'll be the best record in the NBA. You have it going to Washington. Do you agree that they'll be at 30?
Yeah, I mean, never say never, but for that to not happen, the Rockets and the Clippers would both have to be better than the Thunder. That's obviously just like, it's getting to the point where we're already getting into the statistics of this being pretty improbable. So yeah, I would expect the Thunder's pick to convey to Washington, and they won't care because they'll have 2 of the more favorable of the 3.
I agree. So Derek, let's talk some general NBA before we get out of here. The Mavericks fired Nico Harrison finally, and that was the right decision. I think it was the right decision the second that the Luka trade was finalized. But they finally did it, and they've already removed his secret staircase to duck out of Dodge from the American Airlines Center. They have to blow it up, and they have to restart this thing, and they have to trade anyone who's not named Cooper Flagg. And yes, I know that the value of AD, the value of Kyrie, the value of this roster is depreciating by the day. Doesn't matter. Just get them out of there and trade everyone that's not named Cooper Flagg to get anything of substance back for a team who has to tank this year, and again, does not control their own pick until the 2030s. So you need to get some backfill on those draft picks from other teams to help out your rebuild and position yourself around Cooper Flagg, because, Derek, like, this could go down a strange path for Dallas. Like, the worst case scenario for Dallas would be to somehow be middling in a way, and Cooper Flagg is now frustrated. Now Cooper Flagg demands out, and now you're just left with nothing at all after getting the biggest favor in the world from the NBA to get the number 1 pick in Cooper Flagg. So you have to just blow this up.
I agree. I think the Mavericks have some pretty interesting trade chips in terms of AD and Kyrie. Like, there's a lot of different variables with those two, obviously, but they are good players. And I think teams near the trade deadline that really, really want to make a push, I think they could look at those two as guys that could help. Outside of that, they've got good players that people will want to buy. PJ Washington can help a postseason team this year. Daniel Gafford could help a front court this year. I would hang on to Derek Lively personally, but I could see a world where they say, hey, we don't have picks for the next several years. We can move off him to at least recoup some of that value. Like, we're a ways out from competing anyway. So they're an interesting team. Like, people forget that before the Luka trade, they were a legitimate contender. Like, they made the finals. They have legitimate pieces that can help you win games. So there's teams in worse spots. I'll say that. Like, yes, this whole thing has been a fiasco. It shouldn't have happened, but they're a good enough team that I think they will actually get some value from their fire sale.
Now, Derek, what's been your biggest NBA thought that you wanted to get off your chest this week?
What was my biggest NBA thought? It was the Kings fire sale. That's maybe even more interesting because this is the team that we haven't seen legitimately reposition itself in forever. They've been in the middle ground of the NBA for so long. Even when they were in the low tier of the NBA, they weren't getting those like top picks. So not only am I excited to see the Kings kind of back in the draft space, for one, go get some good prospects, but they've also got guys that could potentially help. We've already heard this rumor of like an LA team wants Domantas Sabonis. We just talked about Keon Ellis, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan. Like, these are guys that are going to be bought by someone, you would expect. So just another team in the West that I think is interesting right now. And another team in the West that if they do go sell all these guys, are they worse than Utah? You know what I mean? So all of these things are linked.
I like that. And I do believe that they're going to dive into this fire sale. And I think that some of their guys can help. I don't know how much that their overall roster can help other NBA teams on the trade market, but just simply getting anything, similarly to the Mavericks for the Kings, to really hard reset themselves will be big. I wanted to ask if you're concerned or worried about Cam Johnson with Denver. Now, I am a massive Cam Johnson believer and fan. I'm not concerned because I always believed, and while I was always gassing up the Cam Johnson addition, I always did caveat it with, well, Michael Porter Jr. has had years to build up chemistry with Nikola Jokic, who is a guy who you need chemistry to play alongside. Cam's going to have to figure that out on the fly, and there's going to be some growing pains with that. I think that right now the concern would be more of the stationary stuff. Like, Michael Porter Jr. did have a faster release than Cam Johnson. So now Cam Johnson, whenever he gets the split-second shot set up by Nikola Jokic, he's got to get that off quicker. I think that they can explore more of his relocation on the perimeter to help him. I think that they can explore more of him off the dribble to help them, but they're going to figure things out. And I think that Cam Johnson will still be a massive addition for Denver. So I'm not concerned right now.
I'm not as concerned for Cam Johnson as I am everybody else. Like, this is a team that's still second in the West right now. They have the second best point differential in the NBA. Nikola Jokic is unbelievable. And one of their best players isn't even playing well and isn't assimilated to, as you mentioned, the chemistry and continuity of the team. What does this Denver Nuggets team look like when that does happen? Because it's going to happen. Like, this is not something where Cam Johnson has lost it. He'll never have it, to quote Rylan. Like, this is not the case. He's gonna figure things out, both in Denver, both personally. Some of it is just missing shots. Like, Cam Johnson's gonna hit shots. We've seen 8-9 years of Cam Johnson making basketball shots. So I'm more so looking at it from the perspective of how good is Denver going to be whenever that does happen, because I think it's inevitable. He's a great player. I don't think great players see drop-off next to Nikola Jokic. I just don't know that that's possible. So I'm right there with you. I'm not worried in the slightest.
And my last NBA thought was just in the spirit of our draft coverage. If you were in Peterson's camp right now, of all the realistic teams to get the number 1 overall pick, who would you be rooting for to actually land it?
Yeah, really interesting, because there's all these teams that we've talked about that I don't know from like a longevity perspective. I like Washington. I like a lot of the things that Washington has done. Do you want him in Washington? That's not the worst, but like a Brooklyn, do you want him in Brooklyn? Probably not. Pacers, they've got their point guard. He would be really, really good next to Hallie. That's interesting. I like the Pacers. Dallas is interesting. I think he would be so good next to Cooper Flagg. But they also, as we've touched on, don't have their picks. So they would have to get a lot of value at the trade deadline for me as DP's camp to feel really, really good about him going there. the list might stop there. I mean,
Yeah.
do we have to add Chicago because they have a 1.8% chance and they can jump up from 14 to
No.
number 1?
No, mine would be Indiana. I'd really want him coached by Rick Carlisle. I'd really want him to be added to Halliburton, Siakam, Peterson as like this big three out east in a weaker conference, and a conference that is wide open. And that, for example, like let's say that this coaching change in New York doesn't go according to plan, and they still don't have the postseason success that they want. Let's say that the Cavs still have not quite figured out how to win the postseason, and the Magic never get it together, and the Hawks never get it together. You could see a world where the Cavs are repositioning a little bit, where the Knicks are repositioning a little bit, where the Hawks are trading Trae Young, and meanwhile the Pacers are adding Halliburton back to their roster, and they're adding Peterson to their roster, and all of a sudden they're looked upon as favorably in the East. So it puts them in a right blend of like, I really trust the Pacers' developmental structure. I really trust their head coach. And I really think that you can start to win big there pretty sooner than later, comparatively to the rest of your options who are realistically at the bottom. So I would go Pacers.
The backcourt tandem of Tyrese Halliburton and Darren Peterson would be unbelievable. From like a playmaking perspective, obviously Hallie's one of the best in the league, if not the best in the league at that. Peterson is going to be able to fill it up at all 3 levels. He is going to be able to shoot threes, be it off screen, in transition, stationary, whatever you want. He's going to be able to score in the mid-range. He has unbelievable pace, craft, good handle, good athlete, not like an absolutely elite S-tier athlete, but good enough to get downhill. He's got some vertical pop. He's going to dunk the ball sometimes, and people are their jaws are going to drop. So those two, and on top of that, they're both like legitimate winning impact guys. We obviously saw it with Halliburton firsthand. Like, he drove this miracle Pacers team. And then DP's the same way. Like, it hasn't shown through in Kansas just yet. It's going to. He is that good. He is going to be a winning driver, both in college and the NBA. So that's an unbelievable backcourt tandem. And then you touched on the other pieces, Siakam, Benedict Mathurin as like a scorer that you got to handle both of these guys. Nembhard, Neesmith, like they would be an unreal basketball team. That'd be super fun.
Folks, this has been super fun. You wanted to add in that the Bulls are back because they're like 1-4 in their last 4 games. They're back. It's a more comfortable spot for the Bulls to be in. But who's your technical foul, Derek?
My tech foul goes to the guy sitting below me just last night. Technical foul. He firstly was cheering for Bronny to get in, which I thought that's fine. Like, you want to see Bronny? We all want to see Bronny. Bronny's awesome. Then he starts berating Bronny in the middle of the game, saying, I need a point. I need 1 point. This man bet the Bronny James over. Call the number, buddy. That's absurd. He bet the Bronny James over in a, and he knew what he was doing too, because he knew this was probably going to be a blowout and that Bronny James would see action. So he's in too deep. That guy. That's a technical foul. Technical foul.
That's a technical foul for sure. And honestly, though, I do kind of respect him, like, banking on this being a blowout. I mean, because Thunder on the second night of a back-to-back, and the Lakers are well rested. It could have been a competitive game. I was expecting a competitive game. Turns into a blowout. Brownie gets in. He has a shot to hit the over on Brownie, and it doesn't go in. Don't berate players. They are not in charge of your parlay decisions. But my technical foul, Derek, I've thought long and hard about this week on who should I tee up. This is a tradition. This is honestly both a prestigious award and an award that nobody ever wants to receive, a technical foul. I'm going to give my technical foul to one Andrew K. Schlecht. That's a technical foul. Just because I missed potting with him yesterday on the OKC Dream Team, because he was with his highfalutin friends courtside instead of with the commoners grinding it out for another post-game pod on the OKC Dream Team. So that's it, Derek.
What's falutin?
Highfalutin? Andy Podge is just rubbing elbows with some highbrow people, rich people, stuff like that. Look it up. I'm not going to take a quiz on what highfalutin is.
Look it up.
Derek, I'll see you tonight at the Paycom Center for the third day in a row as we see the Blue take on the old Memphis Hustle. And folks, make sure you tune in 3:30 Central Standard Time for our show with Jeremy Lamb coming up on the Lockdown Thunder YouTube channel.